Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Dream a little dream of chaos, kids.
Oh.
I'm Naomi.
I'm Amber, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Yeah.
Dream a little dream. I like that.
Depends
That would be
sister.
Hi, sister. Wouldn't that be a nightmare if you're dreaming of chaos?
on the chaos.
That's true. That's true.
Chaos is a neutral thing.
I mean, that's true. That's true. I hope
Okay.
that was
Thank you.
foreshadowing and that you have something funny today. Okay, no. That's okay. That's okay. Listen.
Sorta.
Okay. I'll take sort of. I'll take
it's not like a hardcore bummer.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's good.
you know, like the last couple of episodes we've done.
Major double Debbie Downers. Yeah.
Hardcore bummers.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sorry,
Mhm.
guys.
God. Great.
What's going on with you, sister?
Let me think. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm still I'm excited. When I got home from work, I saw that a couple more of my things to go on the wall came. So I'm going to do that when we get done here.
Things to go on the wall. You have like an entire closet full of artwork. What do you mean things to go on the wall?
I want things that I chose that are mine.
Oh, are those not? You know what? Never mind.
I put those things on the wall already.
Oh, okay. You need more things.
I need different things. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I'm going to do that when we get done here. And
Great.
It'll be cute.
That's great.
Everything's looking cute. I'm drinking, thank you for asking. I'm drinking a red blend called Hearsay from Santa Barbara County. I always forget. So I'm just.
What?
Listen, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I've got today. That's all I've got.
Well, I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Are you good?
Yeah, everything's fine. Nothing going on here.
Wow.
Thanks for checking, though.
Shit. Touche.
Sister.
Touche. I don't even know. That's, yeah. We've got some news, yeah?
We have news? Oh,
well,
I mean,
we
got an email from Alicia. Alicia S sent us a nice email today.
It was nice.
It was very sweet. She's been binging us and we made her cry. Look, you know what, Alicia? Amber always makes me cry around here, so you're in good company, I think.
Oh, except that it was your story that made her cry. Uh-huh.
Look, you know what? There are tears in podcasting. That's all I'm saying.
It's true. That's true. This isn't baseball.
No. Sister, do you have a crime for me today?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
This whole topic, I tend to stay away from because it fucking bothers me so much. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's awful, but it like triggers me. But anyway, so this is about Greek life and hazing.
Oh.
I don't know. Like when I come across those stories, I'm like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
Well, I mean,
it's so.
I mean, at the risk of alienating a listener or something, like the whole idea of like fraternities and sororities is fucked up to begin with. Like, let's just start there. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it would be fine if it was just a healthy, like friendship thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it. Yeah. Anyway. So this story is one of those, and it's very upsetting. So
great.
I'm going to tell you about Danny Santulli.
Okay.
So first we're going to start with his parents, Mary Pat and Tom Santulli. Say that Danny was an athlete his entire life. He grew up in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, which is about 15 minutes southwest of Minneapolis.
Okay.
He's the youngest of 3. He has an older brother, Nick, and an older sister, Meredith. Danny was a cutie pie as a little kid and really handsome as a young adult. both of his older siblings went off to college at the University of Missouri, and that is where Danny decided to go as well.
UMiss.
UMiss. And
We've been here before.
What happened at UMiss before?
I can't remember which one it was. Was it the one where the gal with the boyfriend who took her off and like ended up shooting her and leaving her body next to the lake?
I feel like that was Mississippi.
Was that Mississippi?
Might have been, but yes, I know what you're talking about. I did that.
Oh no, was it the one where the gal was dating that other piece of shit? No, that's the same story. And they ended up catching him later because he went on the run, but he still had blood on the shoes.
This is so bad. We're like, it's the one where the girl was murdered by the piece of shit. Okay, well, just draw that out of a bag.
I can remember, I can see the story in my mind. Anyway, I thought it was UMiss. Anyway, keep going.
So when he got there as a freshman, Meredith was still a student there as well. So she was really excited for him to be at the school with her. Mm-hmm. Danny's older brother, he wasn't there anymore, but when he was there, he was in a fraternity and had a really good experience. So when the fraternity Fiji reached out to Danny that August before his freshman year, Danny was like super stoked. Fiji is for Phi Gamma Delta. They just call it Fiji for short.
Okay.
It was a large fraternity and well established. And Danny's parents read about Fiji and they sounded really good. The fraternity had even publicly stated that they were anti-hazing.
Mm-hmm.
So his parents were like, great, this sounds great. They move him into his dorm and the recruitment for Fiji started right away. Meredith would see Danny regularly on campus for the first couple of weeks, but then she stopped seeing him. It seemed like this recruitment process for the fraternity became all-consuming for Danny. Mm-hmm. There was another young man who was pledging with Danny that fell, and he said that there were 45 pledges total, and at first it started out really fun and the fraternity brothers made everything seem really exciting, but then it started to get like not good.
It wasn't fun anymore.
It wasn't fun anymore. There was a group chat with all of the pledges in it, with the like frat members, and basically they could be called over to the house at any time, day or night, and they were required to do a task. Mm-hmm. Which reminded me of like Nexium.
Yeah, exactly. This is some culty shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So within a few weeks, Meredith learns that Danny isn't even going to class anymore, and he's completely out of money. I presume like either financial aid or his parents gave him money for the semester and we're like less than a month in and he doesn't have any money left.
Where's all his money going?
That's what she was wondering. She was like, how in the world could that be possible? So one of the tasks that was regularly, I just malfunctioned. Rewind. Regular. What was the thing that you did last week? And I was so thrilled because it's always me being dumb.
I don't remember.
And I was like, yes.
There's no way to know.
No, if only we had recorded the conversation.
For posterity.
Fuck. Yeah.
Like, let's consult the record, Naomi.
Let the record reflect. Okay.
She did have a mistake.
That's oh my God. Well, that was one for the books. It's always me.
It's not always you.
Listen.
Anyway, money is gone.
Money is gone. And one of the tasks that was required of the pledges regularly was to go get them alcohol, pot, or food, and the pledges had to use their own money.
Okay.
Uh-huh. They also did a thing called a lineup, which would consist of lining up all of the pledges and abusing them.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they would line them up and have them do strenuous activities or things like drinking hot sauce. And if you end up dropping out, like if you don't make it through pledge week, you're shunned.
Oh.
You're like a reject socially.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's September 14th, 2021. And Danny sent a text to his mom that he had stepped on a piece of glass and had to go to the emergency room for stitches. But Meredith is like really questioning this story.
Mm-hmm.
So she's asking him, like, why were you barefoot outside in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And apparently, what actually happened was Danny was made to go into the dumpster in his bare feet,
What?
and there were shards of glass in there that cut up his foot.
Oh, that just gave me
Mm-hmm.
like, ugh. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So when his parents learn this from Meredith, they tell Danny that they're going to call the school and talk to somebody about this. And Danny is like, please don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay. The following month, Danny invites Meredith to a party at the Fiji house. And it was at this party that Danny tells Meredith that he can't do this pledge thing anymore. He's exhausted. His grades are slipping. Like, he's miserable, right?
And he's broke. He has no money left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Meredith tells her parents, and they try to talk to Danny again. And they tell him, you don't have to join a fraternity. You should just drop out. You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
But Danny was
It's
like,
all optional. Like what?
mm-hmm.
And also this whole notion of him being like becoming a pariah on campus or a loser or whatever. It's like the whole point of college is that doesn't, that's like, we're done with that now. We're adults.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why these fucking fraternities are so fucking insidious and gross. Because
I
they
know.
maintain that whole notion of like,
The in group, the out group.
yeah, the social strata and bullshit. That's like we're grown-ups now. We don't play around like teenagers anymore because we're done with that. We're
Right.
grown-ups. We're working on actual things.
Well, these were the
in our
dudes that were
lives.
in the in group who desperately want to hold on to that.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
These guys all fucking suck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mhm.
so annoyed.
So yeah, his parents are like, don't do this. And he was like, I had a moment of weakness when I was talking to Meredith. I have 2 weeks left. I can make it through 2 weeks and then this will all be over.
Literal famous last words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it was October 20th, 2021. And Mary Pat's cell phone rings at 1:27 a.m. It's never good.
Never good.
And it's an emergency room doctor asking if she has a son at the University of Missouri. And they tell her that he has been admitted to the hospital. So Tom calls Meredith and tells her that Danny was in the emergency room and that she needs to head that way immediately. And the parents, along with older brother Nick, get in the car for the 7-hour drive.
Oh my God. The
can't,
longest 7-hour drive ever.
as a parent,
I can't.
that call at 1:00 in the morning, and then you have a 7-hour drive to get to your child.
I can't.
Oh my God. It's so awful. So when Meredith gets there, an ER nurse tells her that a member from the frat house dropped Danny off in the parking lot and left.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. She tells her that they aren't sure if Danny would make it through the night. His blood alcohol reading was 0.468.
Holy shit.
Uh-huh. 4.5 times the legal limit. Yeah. Which is a limit that most people wouldn't survive. Like, you just...
Yeah.
The parents are in communication with Meredith, but she doesn't really tell them how bad it is. She wants them to drive safe, and there's no point in making it even worse for them when they have a 7-hour drive ahead of them, right?
I mean, I guess.
She does tell them that Danny has alcohol poisoning, and they were like, okay, I'm sure he'll be fine. They're thinking they're going to pump his stomach. They're going to get there and scold him for drinking and whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
So the parents and Nick get to the hospital around 9:30 a.m. And again, they figured they're going to walk into Danny's room and have a conversation with him. And they're in complete shock when they walk in and they see that he's in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors tell mom and dad that it doesn't look good. He had a lack of oxygen to the brain for who knows how long. And there was a
Right.
lot of swelling on the brain.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. So Nick goes to the frat house and he's like, I'm going to get one of these fuckers to talk to me and tell me what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
But they're all tight-lipped. No one's talking.
Of course.
He even breaks into the house and demands to speak to the frat president, but that guy had already hired a lawyer.
Oh, they lawyered up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fuck a fraternity.
Yeah.
All I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Right. You know what? Fuck off right in a fucking canoe. You know what I'm saying?
Get in your canoe and get out of here.
Fuck out of here.
Seriously.
Right?
So the Santulli family hires their own attorney who specializes in hazing. And so this attorney starts to dig to find out what happened to Danny.
Hold up. There's an attorney that specializes in hazing
I know.
cases.
Mm-hmm.
That is everything you need to fucking know.
I know. It's like a gang initiation. It's like these people are going
100%.
to be, they're going to torture you, but then they're going to have your back no matter what for life.
Yeah,
after.
it's
like,
it's
why?
gang initiation for fucking preppy rich white kids who don't actually have anything to lose in life. Like
I hate hazing rituals. I
hate everything about this story so far. Absolutely everything top to bottom. I hate
do too, and I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Keep going.
Okay, so Attorney David, he specializes in hazing. He goes to the police, and they're able to get all of the CCTV footage from the Fiji house. Sorry, which is a thing. There's security cameras all over this house.
Of course there is.
And so almost the entire hazing ritual was recorded. You can watch the whole night unfold. So this night was supposed to be a pledge father reveal night, which apparently is a big deal. It's an event where an older member of the chapter will be like assigned to a pledge as their mentor. So the pledges find out who their pledge dad is.
Pledge daddy?
Pledge daddy night.
Ew. Okay, can we add the homoeroticism in here that is just so clearly overt? Like, you guys, just be gay. Just be gay and hang out and, like, swap ties. It's fine. Like, you don't have to turn it into this. Whatever the fuck this shit is.
I'll tell you what this shit is. It's Pledge Daddy Night, which happens towards the end of the whole pledge thing. And there's a lot of drinking involved.
Obviously.
So all of the piglets? Wait. Amber, get it together. You can do this. Reading is hard.
It is really hard.
So all of the pledges show up and they're ordered to take off their shirts and use them as blindfolds and walk down to the basement. The basement doesn't have any cameras in it, but they aren't down there for very long. According to another pledge that night, when they got down there, the music is playing really loud and they're told to line up against the wall and they're having things thrown at them. So that's fun. And once that was over, all of the pledges take their blindfolds off and they find out who their pledge dad is. And the tradition was that your pledge dad gives you a bottle of alcohol and you have to finish it to finalize the new relationship. So Danny was given a fifth of vodka.
An entire fifth?
Yes. Okay. So you can see all of the pledges coming back up from the basement holding their bottles of booze. And they are all told that they wouldn't be a member of the house if they didn't finish their bottle of liquor.
Do they have a time limit?
I don't think so. It was just for the evening. But also, like, there's a lot of people there. And I don't know how much, like, your pledge daddy follows you around or whatever. But I would just be, like, at every opportunity dumping some into a plant, dumping some, you know what I mean?
Right? Just, like
finish.
Down the drain.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You can see on the cameras that there is another member walking around the house with a beer pong beer bong thing and walks up to Danny and puts the tube down Danny's throat and fills the funnel with beer for Danny to drink. And this is after he's already drinking his vodka.
Right.
You can tell by his movements that Danny is really intoxicated. And you can see that he has crossed into like dangerously severe intoxication. At one point, he falls over backwards and people are just laughing at him. Then someone picks him up and tosses him onto the couch like a rag doll, like straight onto his back. By midnight, the party has died down and a bunch of the older members left because they're headed out to the bar and the other pledges have gone home. There's Danny and I believe one other guy on like opposite couches in the living room at the frat house who are just left laying there and forgotten. At one point on camera, you can see Danny try to sit up on the couch and he ends up just sliding off the couch face first.
Oh my God.
So like his face is on the floor, his arms are kind of behind him and his feet are still on the couch.
What?
Yeah. By 12:45, a frat member walks into the living room and realizes that Danny is not okay. He picks Danny up and puts him back on the couch and then calls two other guys in. And these other two guys come in and they're taking Danny's pulse because it looks like he's not breathing, but nobody calls 911. One of the members who had a car picks Danny up and carries him out to the car, but at one point they drop him on his head onto the tile floor while they're trying to get him out to the car. And he is just literally dead weight.
Dead weight.
Mm-hmm. He's not responding. He's not conscious.
They drop him on his head.
They dropped him on his head. They put him in the car and drive him the block and a half to the hospital. They do call 911 from the car, but only for directions, not for an ambulance.
What?
Uh-huh. And the frat guy is still on the phone when he pulls into the hospital and he asks the dispatcher to send someone out to help. So when hospital staff get out to the car, Danny's lips are blue and his heart has stopped. And so they start CPR in the back seat. They get his heart started again, but he has already sustained like significant brain damage.
Yeah.
Once Danny was in the hospital, the frat boys take off.
This is a fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The university immediately shut down the Fiji house as soon as they found out what happened to Danny, and Fiji members go right into like damage control. But so their cell phones are confiscated by police, and you can see multiple messages in the group thread telling everyone to keep their mouths shut, don't talk to the police, delete your messages. Right? But it was through these messages that they were able to identify who did what a little bit.
Yeah. Plus, they have all this video footage.
Yeah. One of the text messages was from Danny's new pledge dad. And it basically acknowledged that he recognized that Danny had too much to drink and that he was leaving to go to the bar anyway. They also talk about making sure to get rid of all the evidence from the house, delete all the text messages. And as it turned out, Fiji House was already on probation for participating in hazing practices. Even though they had publicly stated, which maybe that was part of their probation, was to publicly state that they were haze free.
Or to pretend like they were, like just to try to get out of probation. Yeah.
So Danny was in the ICU from October 20th until December 8th. Danny does get to a minimally conscious state and was moved to a rehab center in Colorado, who specialized in brain and spinal cord injuries. His hearing and vision were tested, and he was completely blind.
Oh my God.
But he could hear. They stayed in Colorado at the rehab facility for 6 months before Danny was able to go home. He needs constant care for the rest of his life. He can't speak, he can't see, and he can't feed or bathe himself. This kid never even really went to class. Like, he never got to experience college at all.
That's just
Yeah. So in Missouri, life endangering hazing is a felony, and Danny's family is waiting for charges to be filed. Meanwhile, Danny's care thus far had totaled over $2 million.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. So the family decides to file a civil suit. They file against 23 students and the Fiji fraternity as well.
Yeah.
They all settled for an undisclosed amount, but the family made it very clear at the civil suit that justice for them would be criminal charges filed.
Yeah.
On June 3rd, 2022, the first criminal charges were filed against the frat members. It started with 11 members. 5 students originally charged with felony hazing took plea deals for misdemeanor charges. They served between 2 and 30 days in jail.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Why is there no manslaughter at the bare minimum here?
Yeah, like attempted murder. Yeah.
Or something?
Another entered a plea of supplying liquor to a minor and was given a 6-month suspended sentence. Danny's pledge dad entered a guilty plea to felony hazing and was sentenced to 6 months in jail and 6 months of house arrest.
Oh my God.
And that was it.
And this chapter didn't lose their fucking status on campus?
Nope, they are up and running again. They renamed it. It's not called Fiji House anymore, but it's the same physical house. It's so upsetting to watch this security footage. I won't. No, me either. I won't ever do another hazing story again. I'm sorry.
That is just so upsetting.
I hate it.
So upsetting.
And for what? And how do people, like, I realize they're all young adults, they're all stupid, but I feel like I learned pretty young that, like, a fifth of liquor, like, that's dangerous. You can't do that. Do they not know that?
I think a lot of people don't recognize. They do not. What I was thinking. A lot of people do not understand that alcohol is poisonous and how many people actually die of alcohol poisoning every year.
Yeah.
Like, this is a thing that happens to a lot of fucking people. And I think it's because they don't respect how dangerous it is to drink. Like, drinking is not a safe activity.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You have to make it safe.
Yeah. And I very rarely in my life have been sick from drinking. Only a handful of times, and it's awful. So I can't imagine. I just hope that Danny was totally blacked out and didn't feel any of that, because I can't even imagine what that feels like.
He seemed pretty out of it to me.
I hope so.
He seemed barely conscious long before they dropped him on his head.
I know. And I wonder how much of that played into the brain damage.
100%. Absolutely.
Mm. And why? I don't. We're never going to know why. Why is it funny or fun to watch somebody drink?
It's not.
Why drink a fifth and then what? Get sick and, like, why is that? Why is that fun?
Almost die. I don't know. I don't know, sister.
I hate everything.
That was horrible.
I'm sorry. I won't ever do one of those again. Fun fact, there's a whole new series about Greek life on one of the channels.
I hope it makes everybody realize that Greek life is bullshit.
I mean, that's what the series is about. It's just one hazing story after another.
Gross.
Yeah.
Fucking gross. I hate everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just for the record, Alicia, I teared up a little bit there. I didn't do a full-on sob, but I did tear up, and it was Amber's fault. So we're right on track.
Do you have a palate cleanser?
Kind of.
Okay, I'll take kind of.
Sort of.
Okay, now it's getting less kind of.
It's kind of, sort of.
Okay, great. I'll take it.
Okay. So, Nicholas Barclay was born on December 31st, 1980.
I almost did this one.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And was last seen playing basketball in June of 1994.
Mm-hmm.
There is some speculation as to the exact date in June. His mother, Beverly Dollarhide, reported him missing on the 13th. However, it is believed that he hadn't been seen since the 10th and was not reported missing until 3 days later, since it wasn't unusual for Nicholas to be gone for a day or two without checking in.
A 13-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Beverly was a single mom with a heroin addiction who worked the graveyard shift at a local convenience store.
Mm.
Beverly had 2 older children from a previous marriage, Carrie, daughter, and son, Jason. Both of Nicholas's siblings were significantly older than him. Nicholas was troubled and had several run-ins with the law, accruing a juvenile criminal record for breaking and entering, stealing, truancy, and threatening his teachers.
Mm.
Nicholas was also known for being verbally and physically abusive to Beverly.
Jeez.
Eventually, Beverly asked her older son, Jason, in his 20s at the time, to live with her and help her to try to help improve Nicholas's behavior. But Jason struggled with his own addiction to cocaine and had a violent temper, and police were repeatedly called to the family home due to domestic disturbances. So it seems that Jason moving back in to help Beverly with Nicholas wasn't exactly a solid plan.
Right.
Nicholas was scheduled for a court appearance on June 14th, the day before his disappearance, which held the possibility that Nicholas would be sent to live in a group home. On the last day that Nicholas was seen, he was playing basketball at a park approximately a mile or 2 from the house. He called home to see if Beverly would pick him up when he was done, but Jason answered and told Nicholas that their mom was still asleep, and Jason didn't want to wake her. Jason told Nicholas to walk home.
Mm-hmm.
And this is reportedly the last time anyone heard from Nicholas. Sorry.
No. Do it.
On June 13th, Beverly reported her son missing. Given Nicholas's reputation with law enforcement and the scheduled court appearance, authorities were slow to respond, assuming he was simply running away from the inevitable and that he would show up in a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas was small for his age, 4 foot 8 inches tall and weighing only 80 pounds. At the time of his disappearance, he had been wearing a white shirt, purple pants, and carrying a pink backpack. He should have been hard to miss if he was a runaway. But days went by and no sign of Nicholas to be found. 3 months later, in September 1994, Jason called the police and said that Nicholas had just tried to break into their garage. When the cops arrived, there was no sign of anyone attempting to break in and no sign of Nicholas. Nicholas's disappearance was very quickly went cold.
It didn't sound like they were really trying very hard to find him in the first place.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
3 years after disappearing, Beverly, Carrie, and Jason received word that Nicholas had been discovered in Linares, Spain, about 200 miles south of Madrid. An unidentified individual had been found near a train station in Linares, young, scared, and unwilling to share his name. Eventually, the young man would reveal himself to be Nicholas Barclay, now 16 years old. He told authorities he hadn't run away from home, but had been abducted by a pedophile ring that had tortured and abused him, claiming this was why his appearance was so different from what it had been 3 years prior at the time of his disappearance. Carrie flew to Spain to reunite with and retrieve her brother, and Nicholas was flown home and welcomed with open arms by his family in Texas. They missed him so much that they didn't notice the glaring inconsistencies between the son who had gone missing and the one who had been returned to them. The Nicholas Barclay who went missing in 1994 was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy of 13 with a violent temper and an attitude problem. The Nicholas Barclay who was found in Spain in 1997 was a dark-haired, brown-eyed boy of 16 who was eerily calm and made those around him a little uneasy.
He was abused into a new eye color?
Yes.
I see.
Despite the fact that he neither looked nor acted like their son, the Barclay family insisted, without a doubt, that the boy was their son, Nicholas Barclay.
That's trauma, though. That's just wishful thinking and trauma.
Really is.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A missing boy reunited with his family after years of abuse drew news crews.
Wow, that's like Blue's Clues. Wow.
Abuse drew news crews.
Wow.
I wrote that.
Good for you.
Hey, and I said it. And reporters from all over the country to the Barclays' home day in and day out.
I bet.
It also drew investigators who were determined to find out what had happened to Nicholas Barclay during the 3 years that he was missing. Mm-hmm. According to Nicholas, yes, sister, air quotes. Yeah. He had been kidnapped on his way home from the park where he had been playing basketball with his friends. Then he'd been put on a plane and taken to Europe, where his kidnappers had forced him into a child sex trafficking ring. Eventually, he had escaped and made it to safety, where he was discovered by local law enforcement. As for his appearance, he said the kidnappers had changed his eye color and dyed his hair to conceal his identity.
How in the fuck did they change his eye color?
Something about injecting some kind of chemical into his eyeballs.
That's not a thing. Fake Nicholas.
After hearing the account of Nicholas's ordeal, private investigator Charlie Parker became suspicious, especially about the explanation for his drastic difference in appearance.
Yeah.
Charlie had been brought in with the TV crew from Hard Copy doing a story about Nicholas's miraculous return. Charlie found Nicholas to be creepy. But he sat there while the TV crew did their thing. He saw a picture of younger Nicholas on a table next to the newly found Nicholas, and he told the TV producer to zoom into the ears of the person sitting before them, presenting himself as Nicholas. Get as close as you can. Let me see those ears. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about on the pod before, ears are almost as definitive an identity marker as fingerprints. Mm-hmm. This was what did it for Charlie. This was when he knew for sure this person was an imposter.
Uh-huh.
He was argumentative with everybody and even got himself a little bit in trouble with the FBI. Even the Bureau thought the boy was who he said he was, except for like one agent.
They thought he was Nicholas?
They threatened Charlie with obstruction of justice because Charlie kept kind of investigating this guy.
Okay.
So Charlie went home and showed everything to his wife. He told her he needed to keep going on this investigation because he knew he was right. And it would end up being the biggest case he ever had.
Wow.
He called and told Beverly that boy was not her son. Mm-hmm. But Nicholas called him back and argued that the detective was wrong, that U.S. authorities had issued him a passport based on their sincere belief in his story.
I have a passport here, so it must be true.
Doesn't
Nicholas, real Nicholas, have any... This is pre-DNA, right?
It's the 90s. It's like 1997 now.
I mean, any really distinctive mark? I mean, the ears, but you would think this wouldn't be this hard.
You would think.
Okay.
Charlie told him, I know one thing. You're not Nicholas Barclay, and I'm going to stay with you. And he didn't know who the imposter was or what his motives could possibly be, but he kept investigating regardless. With the help of his wife, Charlie covertly surveilled the teen, following him around wherever he went. But then they didn't bother hiding it any longer and just followed him openly. And he came up to Charlie one day and said, quote, "You're still around." And Charlie was like, "Yeah, and I know you're not Nicholas, and I'm going to figure this out." And after that, this Nicholas guy, he started calling Charlie. Soon after, they started meeting up once a week on purpose at a diner for hotcakes.
What?
Mm-hmm. In March 1998, at one of their weekly hotcake meetups, he finally admitted to Charlie what Charlie had known all along, that he was not Nicholas. He told Charlie, "My name is Frederic Bourdin, and I'm wanted by Interpol."
Whoa. Okay.
Frederic Pierre Bourdin was the illegitimate son of Ghislaine Bourdin, who was 18 and poor when she gave birth to him in a suburb of Paris on June 3rd, 1974. So for the record, at the time that he was impersonating Nicholas, he was 23.
Pretending to be 16.
Yes.
Jeez.
On government forms, Frederic's father is often listed as X, identity unknown. But Ghislaine has admitted that Frederic's father was a 25-year-old Algerian immigrant named Casey, and that she met him at a margarine factory where they both had worked. After she became pregnant, she discovered Casey was already married, so she left her job and did not tell him that she was carrying his child.
Ooh.
Ghislaine raised Frederic until he was about 2.5 when child services intervened at the insistence of her parents. A relative later would say that Ghislaine liked to drink and dance and stay out all night and that she didn't want anything to do with being a parent. A judge placed Frederic in her parents' custody. Years later, Ghislaine wrote Frederic a letter telling him, quote, "You are my son and they stole you from me at the age of 2. They did everything to separate us from each other and we have become two strangers."
Yeah.
Frederic says his mother needed attention, and on the rare occasion he saw her, she would act like she was deathly ill and make him run to go get help. Quote, to see me frightened gave her pleasure, he said. Ghislaine denies this, although she does admit that she did once try to kill herself and Frederic had to rush to find assistance.
Okay.
When Frederic was 5, he moved with his grandparents to a small town. Frederic was part Algerian, fatherless, and dressed in secondhand clothes from Catholic charities. He had a hard time fitting in. At school, he began to tell tall tales about himself.
Is he okay? He's part Algerian, so I would presume he's got darker skin as well.
Not really.
No, okay. I was going to say, this is wild that he's trying to pass as blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nicholas.
It still is wild that he's trying to pass as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid.
Yeah.
Because he's brown-haired, brown-eyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And part Algerian. You know, you can be as light or as dark as either parent.
Yeah. I was just like, if he's brown-skinned as well, get the fuck out of here with this.
At school, he began to tell tall tales about himself. He said his father was never around because he was a British secret agent. One of his primary school teachers describes Frederic as a precocious and captivating child who had an extraordinary imagination and visual sense, drawing wild, beautiful comic strips. At one point, Frederic told his grandparents that he had been molested by a neighbor, though nobody in the tightly knit village investigated this allegation.
That's nice.
In one of his comic strips, Frederic depicted himself drowning in a river. He increasingly misbehaved, acting up in class and stealing from neighbors. At 12, he was sent to live at a private facility for juveniles. There, his little dramas, as one of his teachers called them, became more fanciful. Frederic often pretended to be an amnesiac, intentionally getting lost in the streets.
What?
Mm-hmm.
He would just wander around and pretend like he didn't know what was going on?
Yes.
Wow.
In 1990, after he turned 16, Frederic was forced to move to another youth home, but he soon ran away. He hitchhiked to Paris, where he invented his first fake character. He approached a police officer and told him he was a lost British teenager named Jimmy Sale.
Okay.
He hoped that he'd get sent to England. It was kind of a dream of his. When the police discovered that he spoke almost no English, he admitted his lie and was returned to the youth home. But now he had a technique. And he began to wander across Europe, moving in and out of orphanages and foster homes, searching for the perfect shelter, assuming fake identities along the way.
Hold on. He didn't speak English?
No. Not at that time. This was in 1990 when he tried to get sent to England.
Jesus Christ.
He learns English later.
Okay. Wow. Okay, keep going.
Oh, I guess I didn't really write this part, but like he also had this really thick French accent.
Oh my God.
And he explained it was because he wasn't allowed to speak English the entire time that he had been abducted as Nicholas. So he had learned French, and his voice, his speech had changed drastically in the 3 years that he'd been. Okay, so anyway, in 1991,
My God. Wow. He couldn't pick somebody local?
well, we'll get
It's like, I'm from Texas.
yes.
No. Oh my God. Okay. Fuck.
In 1991, he was found in a train station in France pretending to be sick and was taken to a children's hospital. According to his medical report, no one knew who he was or where he came from. Answering questions only in writing, he claimed that his name was Frederic Cassis. Frederick's daughter wrote in a letter to a child welfare Frederick's doctor, wrote in a letter to a child welfare judge, quote, "We find ourselves confronted with a young runaway teen, mute, having broken with his former life." On a piece of paper, Frederick scribbled what he wanted most. A home and a school, that's all.
Uh-huh.
When doctors started to unravel his past, Frederick confessed his real identity and moved on. During his career as an imposter, Frederick often disclosed the truth as if the attention that came from exposure was as thrilling as the con itself.
Oh. Wow. Wow. What is this? What is this diagnosis?
I don't even know. On
Okay.
13th of June, 1992, after he had posed as more than a dozen fictional children, Frederick turned 18, becoming a legal adult. In November 1993, posing as a mute child, he lay down in the middle of a street in the French town of Auch and was taken by firemen to a hospital. A local newspaper ran a story about him asking, "Where does this mute adolescent come from?" The next day, the paper published another article under the headline, "The mute adolescent who appeared out of nowhere has still not revealed his secret." After fleeing, he was caught attempting a similar ruse nearby and had to admit that he was Frederic Bourdin.
Okay.
So as Frederick assumed more and more identities, he attempted to kill off his real one. One day, the mayor of the small town where his grandparents lived received a call from the German police notifying him that Frederick's body had been found in Munich.
Oh, now he's faking his death?
Yes.
Good.
So
Okay,
members
great.
of Frederick's family waited for a coffin to arrive, but it never did. And his mother said it was Frederick playing one of his cruel games. Trying to convince his parents and his grandparents that he was dead in Germany somewhere.
Wow.
By the mid-90s, Frederick had accumulated a criminal record for lying to police and magistrates, and Interpol and other authorities were increasingly on the lookout for him. His activities were also garnering media attention.
I bet.
In 1995, the producers of a popular French TV show called Everything is Possible invited him on.
Oh.
As Frederick appeared on stage looking pale and prepubescent, the host teasingly asked the audience, "What's the boy's name? Michael, Jurgen, Kevin, or Pedro? What's his real age? 13, 14, 15? Pressed about his motivations, Frederick insisted that all he wanted was love and a family.
Okay. Stop it. Stop it with this.
It was the same rationale he always gave, and as a result, he was the rare imposter who elicited sympathy as well as anger from those that he had duped.
Mm-hmm.
Although his mother has a less charitable interpretation of her son's motive. He wants to justify what he has become, is what she says.
Oh.
The producers of Everything is Possible were so affected by his story that they offered him a job in the station's newsroom.
No.
But he soon ran off to create more interior fictions, as one of the producers called it.
Okay.
Sometimes Frederick's lies were viewed in existential terms. One of his fans in France created a website that celebrated his fabricated identities, calling him an actor of life and an apostle of a new philosophy of human identity.
Whoa.
He had a website that a fan created about him. A fan. He had a fan.
Stop it. That is not what this guy needs.
No.
Mm-mm.
Frederic spent time crafting each new identity, their name and the backstory and such, and then once he had imagined a character, he created an appropriate appearance, meticulously shaving his face, plucking his eyebrows, using hair removal creams. He often put on baggy pants and a shirt with really long sleeves that were too long to emphasize his smallness.
Mm-hmm.
In order to help his new character along, he would call a hotline and claim to have seen the character in a perilous situation of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
The authorities were less likely to grill a child who appeared to be in distress.
Right.
If someone noticed Frederic looked too mature, he would treat it as a compliment. Teenagers always want to be seen as older than they are.
Mm-hmm.
In October 1997, he was at a youth home in Linares, Spain. A child welfare judge who was handling his case had given him 24 hours to prove he was a teenager. Otherwise, she'd take his fingerprints, which were on file with Interpol. Frederic knew he could be looking at prison now that he was an adult with a growing record.
Uh-huh.
He had already tried to run away once and was caught, and the staff were keeping a watchful eye on him. And so, for the first time, rather than invent an identity, he stole one.
Oh my God.
He assumed the persona of a missing 16-year-old boy from Texas. Frederic, now 23, not only had to convince the authorities that he was an American child, he had to convince the missing boy's family. He thought if he could fool the judge into thinking that he was an American, he might be let go. He asked permission to use the telephone in the shelter's office and called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Alexandria, Virginia, trolling for a real identity.
No. I was just going to ask, how did he know about Nicholas?
Speaking in English, which he had picked up during his travels, he claimed his name was Jonathan Durian and that he was a doctor of the Linares shelter. He said a frightened child had turned up who would not disclose his identity, but who spoke English with an American accent. Bourdin offered a description of the boy that matched himself: short, slight, prominent chin, brown hair, a gap between his teeth, and asked if the center had anyone similar in its database.
Okay. And the center thought that Nicholas was similar to that description?
After searching, a woman at the center said the boy might be Nicholas Barclay, who had been reported missing in San Antonio on the 13th of June, 1994, at the age of 13.
Okay.
He asked if the center could send any more information that it had regarding Nicholas, and the woman said she would overnight the missing person flyer and immediately fax a copy as well.
Okay.
After giving her the fax number in the office he was using, Frederic hung up and waited. When the flyer came through over the fax machine, the printout was so faint, most of it was unreadable, but Frederic decided the photograph's resemblance to him did not seem that far off. He quickly called back the center in Virginia and told the woman, "I have some good news. Nicholas Barclay is standing right beside me."
This is such an evil thing to do to the
Evil.
family that thinks that...
Evil.
Yes.
Yes. She gave him the phone number of the officer in the San Antonio Police Department who was in charge of the investigation. This time, Frederic pretended to be a Spanish policeman and called the officer, mentioning details about Nicholas that he had learned from the woman at the center, and declared the missing child had been found.
Oh my God.
The officer said he'd contact the FBI and the U.S. Embassy in Madrid.
Wow.
The next day at the shelter, Frederic intercepted a package from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children addressed to Jonathan Durian. He ripped open the envelope, and inside was a clean copy of Nicholas Barclay's missing person flyer. It showed a color photograph of a small, fair-skinned boy with blue eyes and brown hair so light that it appeared almost blonde.
Mm-hmm.
The flyer listed several identifying features, including a cross tattoo between Nicholas's right index finger and thumb.
Oh.
Like,
hello.
right there.
Uh-huh.
He quickly burned the flyer in the shelter's courtyard, then went into the bathroom and bleached his hair. Then he had a friend give him a home tattoo with a needle and ink from a pen that resembled the one that Nicholas had, which is probably how Nicholas got his tattoo.
Sure, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Frederic tried to come up with a story that would explain his appearance, especially his brown eyes. What if he had been abducted by a child sex ring and flown to Europe where he had been tortured and abused, even experimented on? Yes, that could explain the eyes. His kidnappers had injected his pupils with chemicals. He had lost his Texas accent because for more than 3 years of captivity, he had been forbidden to speak English.
Mm-hmm.
He had escaped from a locked room in a house in Spain when a guard carelessly left the door open. It was a crazy tale, one that violated his rule to keep it simple, but it would have to do.
Wow. Wow.
Now Frederic has confessed to Charlie Parker, PI, who he really was. And Charlie called his contact at the FBI, the agent who had been suspicious of the miraculous return of Nicholas from the very start and had been working the case in the background for months. When he told her who it really was, she already knew. She had obtained blood samples from Beverly and her supposed returned son, along with his fingerprints, and had just received the same information as Charlie from Interpol.
Yeah, because his fingerprints were on file, right?
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Frederic is arrested, and in September 1998, he pled guilty to perjury and to obtaining and possessing false documents. This time, his claim that he was merely seeking love just pissed everyone off.
Right. As it should.
Carrie, who had a nervous breakdown after Frederic was arrested, testified before his sentencing saying, quote, "He has lied and lied and lied again, and to this day he continues to lie. He bears no remorse." The judge compared what Frederic had done, giving a family the hope that their lost child was alive and then shattering it, to murder, and sentenced Frederic to 6 years, more than 3 times what was recommended under the sentencing
Wow.
guidelines. Sentencing guidelines. Frederic told the courtroom, quote, "I apologize to all the people in my past for what I have done. I wish that you believe me, but I know it's impossible. I am a prisoner of myself."
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
I know.
What is this diagnosis? What is going on?
I don't know. After the FBI agent that had done the digging to get the truth had successfully arrested Frederic, she turned her sights on solving the case of Nicholas Barkley. Frederic had told the agent that he felt certain that Jason and Beverly knew what had happened to Nicholas, that it seemed to him that Jason had actually been the one to kill Nicholas, maybe on accident, and that Beverly was covering for her son.
Holy shit, I just got full body chills. So they are, if that's true, probably thrilled that somebody faked to be their son, because then that just provides them
Deflects
a
from
cover too.
So
oh God, this is
this FBI agent didn't believe a word that Frederic said, but she also had a sense that there was more that needed investigating where Nicholas' whereabouts were concerned. She also had some spidey senses on this one.
okay.
So she and her partner gathered more evidence suggesting that Beverly's home was prone to violence. They found that officials at Nicholas's school had expressed concern that Nicholas might be an abused child, having seen bruises on his body. One day, the agents asked Beverly to take a polygraph. Carrie told her mom to just do whatever they asked you to do. Just take the lie detector. We know you didn't kill Nicholas, right? So Beverly held the magical cans. The most important question was whether Beverly currently knew the whereabouts of Nicholas. She said no twice. The polygraph examiner told the FBI agent that Beverly had seemingly answered truthfully. And when the agent expressed disbelief, the examiner said that if Beverly were lying, she had to be on drugs. After a while, the examiner administered the test again, at which point the effects of any possible narcotics, including methadone, might have worn off. And this time, the examiner asked if Beverly knew Nicholas's whereabouts, and the machine went wild, indicating a lie.
Okay.
When the examiner told Beverly that she had failed the exam and began pressing her with more questions, Beverly yelled, "I don't have to put up with this," then got up and ran out the door. The agent ran after her and asked her, "Why are you running?" And Beverly was pissed and said, "This is so typical of Nicholas. Look at the hell he's putting me through."
What? What the fuck?
Right?
Oh no.
So the FBI agent wanted to interview Jason next, but he resisted. And when he finally agreed to meet her several weeks after Frederic had been arrested, getting him to answer questions was like pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm.
They spoke about the fact that he had not gone to see his alleged brother for nearly 2 months. And the agent was like, here's your brother, long gone, kidnapped, and aren't you eager to see him? And he was like, well, no. And the agent was like, well, did he look like your brother to you? And he was like, well, I guess. And so the agent developed a very strong suspicion that Jason had participated in the disappearance of his brother.
Mm-hmm.
The other agent also believed that Jason either had been involved in Nicholas's disappearance or had information that could tell them what had happened. Ultimately, I think what was really coming out of all this was that like something wasn't adding up with Beverly and Jason.
Right.
Ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know exactly what, but something's not adding up here.
Mm-hmm.
They even suspected that Beverly knew what had happened to Nicholas and that might have helped cover up the crime because she was protecting Jason.
Okay.
After the interview, Jason refused to speak to the authorities again without a lawyer or unless he was under arrest. But Charlie was a PI and he could do stuff the FBI agents couldn't. And so he continued to press Jason.
Mm-hmm.
On one occasion, he accused him of murder. He looked right at him and said, I think you did it. I don't think you meant to, but I think you did it.
Uh-huh.
And Charlie said that Jason's response to that was to just stare at him.
Oh, that's
without saying a word. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Several weeks after the FBI questioned Jason, Charlie was driving through downtown San Antonio and saw Beverly on the sidewalk. He asked her if she wanted a ride, and when she got in, she told him that Jason had died of an overdose of cocaine.
Oh.
Charlie knew that Jason had been off drugs for more than a year and asked her if she thought he had taken his life on purpose, and she said, I don't know.
Oh. Jeez.
Frederic was released from prison and deported back to France in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to Grenoble in the southeast region of France and assumed the identity of Leo Bally, a 14-year-old French boy who had been missing since 1996.
Stop it. Now he's trying to be 14 and he's what? Approaching 30?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
DNA testing proved that he was not Bally. In August 2004, he was in Spain, claiming to be a teenager named Ruben Sanchez Espinoza, whose mother had been killed in the Madrid bomb attacks. When the police found out the truth, they deported him back to France.
This guy.
In June 2005, Frederic passed himself off as Francisco Hernandez Fernandez, a 15-year-old Spanish orphan, and spent a month in this junior high school in France, where he claimed that his parents had been killed in a car accident. He dressed as a teenager, adopted a proper walking style, covered his receding hairline with a baseball cap, and used depilatory face creams to make himself look like he didn't have any facial hair.
Oh my God. Covered up his receding hairline. This is amazing.
There is a part where this goes deeper because he actually claimed to have been in some horrible accident. And so he had like scars and he wasn't allowed to wear a hat at school, but he got a concession because he told the teachers that he was, self-conscious about the scars on his head from the accident he'd been in. So he wanted to be able to wear the hat when really what he needed the hat for was to disguise his receding hairline.
Wow. What? I have no words.
It's that meme / gif Steve Buscemi, like, hello fellow kids, like,
Wow.
So on June 12th, an administrator from his school unmasked him, basically, after seeing a television program about him. On the 16th of September, he was sentenced to 4 months in prison for possessing and using the previous false identity of Leo Bally.
Mm-hmm.
He was literally they literally like ripped his...
Like Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
It's old man Flanagan. Yeah.
Yes.
God. Wow.
On In August 2007, Frederic married a French woman named Isabelle after a year-long courtship. In her late 20s when they met, Isabelle was slim and pretty and soft-spoken. She was studying to be a lawyer. A victim of family abuse, she had seen Frederic on television describing his own abuse and his quest for love, and she had been so moved that she eventually tracked him down.
Oh, boy.
Frederic says that when Isabelle first approached him, he thought it must be a joke, but they met in Paris and gradually fell in love. He said he had never been in a relationship before.
Well, no, because he's been 13 and 14 for all these years.
The couple lived in France with their 5 children.
Oh.
In March of 2017, Frederic made a Facebook post stating that Isabelle had left him for another man, claiming she had been unhappy for 10 years and very unhappy in recent months. And that is the TLDR on a very long and convoluted story that is the life of Frederic Bourdin.
Fuck.
Imposter.
Major imposter.
There's a documentary about him. It's called The Imposter.
Mm-hmm.
They made it after the whole thing with Nicholas was discovered. Like after, I don't know, I didn't watch it. I don't know where at what point in the story after. I don't know if it's like after he was released from prison and like went back to Europe and they did this, but he's been interviewed plenty.
Wow.
He is well known.
God.
For these exploits.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I know. I don't have an answer, sister.
What?
I don't know.
Okay. That is wild.
It's wild.
Covering up your receding hairline so you can go to junior high. What the fuck? What are we doing? God.
Right.
Who the hell wants to go back to junior high?
Seriously. That's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we?
Wow.
I don't even.
That was amazing. That was a
So
palate
you knew,
cleanser.
but you didn't know.
I started watching that documentary a long time ago thinking I would do a story on it, and I only got like 20 minutes in, and some days my brain just can't, and I was
no,
like,
you don't have to tell me.
I was
get
like,
it.
I'm already confused. I got to move on from this.
You have to be in a certain like headspace for all kinds different, depending on the story, whatever it is, you have to be in the right headspace to receive it. I get it.
This has too
totally
many
get
twists
it.
and turns for me. Yeah.
That was a much deeper rabbit hole than I expected to go down when I started down this path. Yeah.
Wow, sister. Better you than me. That was amazing.
I guess it was. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
I was wondering how that movie ended.
Well,
now I know.
I think there was more after the movie.
Wow.
So the movie doesn't even give you all of it.
Mm.
Okay, well, we did that.
We did that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you guys, go join the club.
Yeah, do it.
At patreon.com. Yakety yak. Don't talk back.
Slash that
Crime,
back.
Wine, and Chaos.
Mm-hmm. Do it.
$5 a month. You get a bonus episode every month. You get new episodes drop a day early every week. Sometimes we have wine night.
Sorry.
Are we boring? We're boring her. She's over it. She's
I'm
done.
not over it.
She's over it.
It's been a day. And give us a review. Give us a review.
Please.
Preferably on the apples if you've got it. A little typey.
But wherever you listen, give us a review. The more reviews we get, the more people can find us.
That's right.
Oh,
I
sister.
love you.
I love you too. It was so chaotic.
Yeah, it was. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Jeremy Williams. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Cheers!